Silence is usually seen as a white flag of giving up. However, through the eyes of a psychiatrist, your quietness is not a retreat. It is a smart style of mental warfare. When you commit to this stillness, you aren't just ignoring the narcissist. You are forcing them to face a scary truth they have run from their whole lives. We need to look at what really happens in their deep mind when the communication goes dark. You might think they will get bored and find a new target. Yet, the narcissistic mind does not work on that logic. We are now breaking down their internal processes to show exactly how they react next. A frantic, strategic response that goes against every image they have shown you and is sure to shock you. The moment you embrace real silence, you shift the basic mechanics of the narcissist's world. It is important to realize that a narcissist never actually bonds with you. They bond with the version of themselves they see in your eyes. They lack the ability to exist as independent, self-governing people. They work like a parasite, needing a host to prove that they are breathing, important, and relevant. Every fight you once joined in, every tear you cried, and every frantic message you typed looking for an answer was never seen as a wish for closeness. It was filed away as proof of their power. It was a green light showing that their control systems were still working. But when you choose silence, you cut the cord. This is not the petty silent treatment, which is a trick used to get a reaction. This is the silence of the absolute end. Jung described the ego as a frame demanding constant support to keep it standing. For the narcissist, you act as that support structure. You are the external memory bank where they store their sense of value. When you refuse to break the silence, you are basically deleting that data. Their first reaction is not sadness or missing you. Instead, it is a deep sense of being lost, like a pilot losing all radar signals during a snowstorm. They feel a sharp, shaking disconnection. This is the moment they realize the glass has cracked. They look for you to mirror their greatness or their victimhood, but they find only a neutral, empty space. This lack of feedback scares them more than hate ever could. If you hate them, you are still thinking about them. If you are silent, you have made them meaningless. Picture a partner who has focused their power on making you feel small and playing games for years. One day, after a particularly mean discard, they send a text meant to pull you back in. Maybe a vague, "I miss what we had," or a blaming, "Are you really going to walk away from this?" In the past, you would have replied right away to defend your name. This time you stay still. You don't block them. You simply let the message rot in the deep, dark void. To the narcissist, staring at that screen without a notification that you read it is a specific kind of mental pain. They aren't checking the phone to see how you're doing, but to confirm if they still exist. The silence tells them that they do not. This loss of signal sparks a primal fear. They cannot plan their next move because they cannot find your location. In a Jungian view, the mind fears what it cannot label. By staying quiet, you become a mystery. You change from a useful tool into an unpredictable ghost. They start watching your digital tracks, asking mutual friends questions, or hovering near your house, not out of love, but out of a desperate need to secure the object that keeps their reality steady. They are hunting for the mirror, but they only find the shadows where the reflection used to be. This is just the start of the breakdown. This understanding is the defense they never thought you would have. If you look for more ways to take back your freedom, consider following the Zero Mind channel. In the next part, you will see why their worry quickly turns into a specific brand of rage that shows their most guarded secret, one they have buried since they were young. Once the narcissist realizes the signal is gone for good, and this isn't a short break, but a total cutoff, the panic turns into something much more explosive. Jung called this the rising of the shadow. The shadow holds all the thrown away, painful, and weak parts of the character that the narcissist has spent a lifetime pushing down. They built a fake identity, charming or acting like a victim, specifically to keep this shadow hidden. Your focus was the glue holding that mask together. Without it, the mask cracks and the hidden darkness begins to leak out. This spill looks like a rage that seems to make no sense if you don't understand the physics underneath. This isn't the frustration of an adult. It is the screaming breakdown of a scared toddler left alone in the dark. They aren't mad because you left. They are furious because you removed the wall protecting them from their own self-hate. When you are silent, you are no longer available to act as the trash can for their toxic feelings. They can no longer hand you their guilt and demand you carry it. As a result, they must carry it themselves, and it hurts. This fury often shows up as a messy blur of clashing behaviors. They might flip from cruel insults to crying, begging in minutes. They are fishing for any response that allows them to push the shadow back onto you. If they can trigger your anger, they can point at you and claim you are the crazy one. If they can force you to explain yourself, they can ignore your side and take back the upper hand. But against your stillness, these moves fall apart. The shadow has nowhere to go outside and turns inward, poisoning their own mind. You see this in the sudden, illogical smear campaigns that follow your leaving. A person might tell their entire circle of friends that their partner was the attacker, even if they were the one causing the harm. To an outsider, this looks like planned evil, but through a Jungian lens, it is a desperate defense called projection. They are taking their own rising shadow and trying to stick it onto your silent image. They need the public to see you as the bad guy so they don't have to see the bad guy in themselves. But the catch is that because you are silent, you give no fuel for the story. You aren't defending yourself or arguing. Your silence creates a vacuum. Their accusations ring out in an empty room, sounding more and more crazy to anyone watching. The more they try to label you as the problem while you remain quietly calm, the more their disguise fails. The shadow bursts out publicly. They become sloppy, reactive, and easy to see through. The fake persona is melting because the shadow is too huge to hold without your help. I would be interested to know if you have seen this happen. Have you ever stayed silent during a meltdown and watched their mask literally slip away, showing a stranger you didn't know? If you've seen this, share your experience below with the word unmasked so we can confirm that truth together. Next, you will learn about the main injury beneath the anger, a hollow space so huge it explains every cruel act they ever did. Beneath the panic and the fury lies the true engine of their behavior. This is what Jungian theory identifies as the primary wound. It is the very bottom of the mental ocean, a place of biting cold and total emptiness. Most people think narcissists are full of themselves, but the reality is the opposite. Deep in the deep mind, under layers of pride and lies, is a belief that they are totally worthless. They don't have a steady center of self-love. Instead, they hold a black hole that needs a steady diet of outside praise just to stay together. When you stop responding, you stop feeding the fire of their fake reality. The fire fades, and for the first time in years, they are forced to feel the chill of that emptiness. This isn't a poetic loneliness. It is a physical feeling of not existing. Without your attention, they feel as though they are literally vanishing. This connects to the abandonment trauma that created the narcissist in the first place, the child who was never seen for who they were, only for what they could give. They spend their life trying to outrun this core injury, using status and people like drugs to dull the ache of the void. Your silence is the forced detox. You have removed the numbing agent. This forces a meeting with a terrifying fact. They do not know who they are without an audience. A healthy person can be alone and feel complete. A narcissist feels the walls closing in. They feel the chaotic pieces of their own mind spinning around them with no gravity to hold them down. This phase often results in strange, almost desperate attempts to reconnect. This is where the sudden disappearing act or the middle-of-the-night crisis comes into play. They might vanish, hoping you will chase them to prove they matter, or they might show up to your door claiming an emergency. This isn't love. It is a survival reflex. They are trying to patch the hole in their spirit with your energy. They are using you to regulate a nervous system they never learned to manage. Think of a demanding parent who suddenly calls nonstop after you cut contact, leaving messages that swing between, "I'm sick," and "you're ungrateful." You might feel a sense of guilt, but look closer. They aren't calling to bond. They are calling because the silence has forced them to listen to their own unbearable thoughts. They are facing a void of their own making, and they are terrified. Your silence holds up a mirror to that emptiness, and they will do anything to look away. Now you will see how your silence turns into a self-fulfilling prophecy that haunts them and flips the laws of psychological gravity. As your silence goes on from days into weeks and months, it goes through a deep shift. It stops being just a lack of noise and becomes a heavy, real presence inside the narcissist's mind. It becomes stronger than any argument you could have ever started. Silence held with strength begins to rewrite the rules of the relationship. In a Jungian sense, this is mental gravity. Usually, the narcissist is the center of the system, the heavy sun around which you circle constantly, adjusting your life to avoid their flares. When you refuse to break the silence, you do something that breaks their understanding of physics. You reverse the gravity. You stop moving. Inji. You become the fixed point. In any two-object system, when one stops its frantic motion and becomes still, the other is forced to move in relation to it. Suddenly, the narcissist finds themselves pulled toward you. The center of power has shifted entirely, not because you fought for it, but because you simply stopped chasing it. They are now the ones chasing the ghost of your presence, trying to find a way back to the center of a universe that no longer exists. This shift turns on a paranoid prophecy in their unconscious mind. You must realize that the narcissist operates on a purely transactional and enemy versus enemy basis. They view all relationships as power struggles where one person wins and the other loses because they cannot imagine a world where you are silent simply for your own peace. They project their own bad intent onto your silence. Their mind cannot accept that you are healing. It assumes you are plotting. They begin to build a ghost version of you in their mind. In this ghost version, you are not just sitting quietly. You are scheming. You are celebrating their downfall. You are laughing at them with new friends. You are exposing their secrets to the world. Your silence acts as a blank screen upon which they paint their worst fears. This is the psychological concept of the phantom echo. Because you are not giving them real-time feedback, their brain is forced to fill in the data gaps. The human brain, and particularly the narcissistic brain, is terrified of uncertainty. Uncertainty is a threat. To solve this threat, their mind acts out a conversation with you. But since they cannot hear your voice, they project their own internal judge onto you. You become the outside voice of their own guilt and shame. You don't have to lift a finger. Your silence allows their own mind to torture them with the truths they have pushed down for decades. This leads to a state of total sensory deprivation for their ego. Think of the narcissist as an addict who needs a steady stream of data to manage their emotional state. They need to know where you are, who you are with, and how you are feeling about them. This data allows them to adjust their manipulation tactics. If they know you are sad, they offer a crumb of hope. If they know you are angry, they play the victim. But silence removes all the data points. They are flying blind. Without your signal, their usual tactics stop working. This destroys their ability to predict the future. And for a control freak, the inability to predict is equal to a loss of sanity. They begin to experience a twisting of time. A day of silence feels like a week. A week feels like forever. This is because their sense of time is linked to how often they get supply. Without the supply of your attention to mark the passing of time, they enter a limbo state. They start to believe that every minute you remain silent, you are becoming stronger and they are becoming weaker. This is actually true. You are digesting the trauma and accepting your shadow while they remain stuck in a loop of obsession. They start to feel that you know something they don't. They become convinced that you have discovered a secret that will ruin them, or that you have finally seen the man or woman behind the curtain and walked away in disgust. This paranoia creates a spy state in their life. They become obsessed with gathering intel. They watch your social media not out of interest, but out of a need to crack the code of your silence. They drive past your house or workplace. They pump mutual friends for information, trying to appear casual while their internal world is screaming for a clue. Every non-answer they receive turns up the dread. If a friend says, "I haven't heard from them," the narcissist doesn't hear that you are busy. They hear that you have moved on and they have been erased. The silence confirms their deepest fear that they are easily forgettable. The prophecy becomes self-fulfilling. They always feared being left, yet their behavior guaranteed it. They always feared being seen as a fake, and your silence indicates you have seen it. The unconscious prophecy is the return of their own karma. Jung stated that what we do not face in the unconscious meets us as fate. Your silence is that fate arriving. It is the physical showing of the consequences they thought they could outrun. They realize, perhaps for the first time, that they are not the main character in a movie everyone else is watching. They are a character that has been written out of the script, and the show is continuing without them. This creates a state of ego clash. Their internal story says, "I am the most important person in their life." They cannot survive without me. But the outside reality of your silence says, I am doing fine without you. In fact, I am better. These two realities cannot exist together. The friction between them causes the narcissist's mind to crack. They begin to swing between extreme arrogance and extreme worthlessness. One moment they convince themselves you are playing a game and will break any second. The next moment they are paralyzed by the thought that you never truly love them, or worse, that you love them enough to leave them when they became toxic. Your silence basically puts them in a hall of mirrors where every reflection is twisted. They see you happy, they see you angry, they see you not caring, they see every possibility except the truth, because the truth is simple, and they cannot process simplicity. The truth is that you have chosen yourself. But to a narcissist, choosing oneself is an act of war. They read your freedom as an aggressive attack on their existence. They feel judged by your refusal to speak. Silence is the loudest judgment because it offers no chance of defense. If you accuse them, they can deny it. If you are silent, the accusation hangs in the air, undeniable and unanswerable. They are trapped in the loop of their own making. They want to reach out to break tension, but they are terrified that if they reach out and you do not respond, the last shred of their illusion will be destroyed. So they wait and they obsess and they rot from the inside out. They're fighting a ghost, shadowboxing with a memory while you are out in the real world breathing fresh air. The gravity has not just shifted, it has crushed them. You have become the sun burning bright, self-sustaining, and blindingly real, and they are drifting into the cold, dark deep of space, unconnected and alone. Consider the text messages you might get during this phase. They often make no logical sense. I know what you're doing. You think you're so smart. Are you going to ignore me forever? These are not questions for you. These are the transcripts of the argument they are having with the ghost in their head. They are responding to things you never said and actions you never took. In the next part, you'll discover why their attempt to replace you with a new supply is doomed to fail, and how your silence turns their new relationship into a nightmare. In a desperate, wild bid to escape the crushing weight of your silence and the internal void it reveals, the narcissist will inevitably start what looks like a fast recovery. They seek a replacement. In clinical terms, this is known as securing a new supply. But the reality is far more frantic and sickly than that term suggests. To the outside watcher, and especially to your wounded heart, this phase can look incredibly painful. You well and convincing. They seem to move on instantly. They post pictures looking happier than they ever did with you. They introduce this new person to their family immediately, speeding up milestones that took years to reach with you. It looks as though your silence didn't matter, that you were easily replaceable, and that they have found their true soulmate. But you must look at this through the lens of the psychological mechanics we have established. You must see the panic beneath the performance. This is not a new relationship. It is a frantic attempt at pain relief. They are not running toward this new person. They are running away from the shadow your silence let loose. The new supply is a human bandage applied to a large chest wound. The basic problem with bandages is that they do not stop internal bleeding. They only cover the site of the blood. The narcissist is trying to recreate the mirror they lost in you. But the conditions are now chemically different. You saw them. You knew the truth. You eventually saw through the mask and chose silence. This new person only sees the mask. They are interacting with a projection, not a person. This dynamic introduces a psychological phenomenon I call triangulation with a ghost. Usually, triangulation involves three living people: the narcissist, the partner, and the rival. But in this case, the rival is your silence. The narcissist actively uses your memory to torment and control the new supply, even while they claim to hate you. They tell the new partner, "My ex was crazy. My ex was so jealous." Or, "My ex never understood me like you do." They build a myth around you, painting you as the villain to secure the new supply's loyalty. But here is the twisted contradiction. Because you are silent, you become a ghost third party in their new relationship. The new partner is fighting a war against a ghost they cannot see or hear. Because you are not defending yourself, the narcissist is free to rewrite history. But deep down, the narcissist knows they are lying. This creates a split in their mind. They are performing love for the new person, but they are mentally obsessed with the ghost, you. They are constantly comparing the new supply's reactions to yours. They are looking for the depth, the strength, and the fuel you provided. But because the new supply is likely unaware of the sickness, their validation feels shallow. It is the difference between being praised by a master critic and being praised by a child who doesn't know any better. The narcissist craves the praise but secretly looks down on the new supply for being gullible enough to believe the act. This leads to a deep, eating dissatisfaction known as the gullibility trap. The narcissist needs to be believed, but they feel contempt for anyone who believes them too easily. You, by going silent, have proven that you are not gullible. You have proven that you see the reality. This makes you dangerous and high value in their twisted internal economy. The new partner who buys the love bombing hook, line, and sinker is unconsciously viewed as low value or easy. The narcissist feels a strange form of loneliness, even while being adored, because they know the adoration is directed at a fake persona. They are being applauded for a role they are tired of playing. Furthermore, your silence acts as a spoiler for their honeymoon phase. The narcissist needs you to be jealous. They need to see you watching their Instagram stories. They need to hear through the grapevine that you are devastated. This external reaction is what makes the new relationship real to them. It is not about the love they feel for the new person. It is about the pain they can inflict on the old one. If you are silent, you are indifferent, and not caring makes their new performance meaningless. They are acting on a brightly lit stage, delivering the performance of a lifetime, screaming their happiness to the ceiling. But the only audience member that matters, you, has already walked out of the theater. This drives them into a manic state. They overcompensate. The love bombing of the new supply becomes aggressive, showy, and almost hysterical. It is specifically designed to get a reaction from the ghost of you. This is why the social media posts feel so staged and excessive. The captions are too long. The declarations of love are too loud. The smiles are too wide. They are trying to scream loud enough for your silence to hear. Behind the scenes, the narcissist is often obsessively checking to see if you viewed the story.